Hi everyone, it's Neil at Catapults. Thanks very much for joining the webinar. In today's session, we're actually going to be looking at some great activities that have been put together by our partner PITSCO Education. Before we go into the details of the specific activities that you can do at home yourselves, just to give you a little bit of background on what PITSCO Education do, they actually deal in all sorts of amazing hands-on resources for STEM education as a whole. So you can see some examples of those up on the screen now. They deal in things like robotics and coding, aerospace and sustainable or renewable energy, and general materials for engineering and design, and looking into science and maths. And all sorts of other areas of the STEM curriculum. So there's all sorts of brilliant resources which they're usually working on, which can be used throughout the STEM curriculum, and great for building 21st century learning skills as well. In terms of their approach, PITSCO are absolutely always focused on enabling learning through hands-on exploration and problem solving. That's what all of their resources and activities are focused on. And it's trying to get pupils to think about and consider what they can bring to the world. You can see a couple of examples of these questions on the screen now. It's always trying to encourage our pupils to think, what can I bring to the world? What can I do to make a difference? And thinking about how everything that they're looking at and investigating applies to their own life, and how they can use these skills they're building, the knowledge that they're developing, how can they use that to improve things that they use in their day-to-day life and that others are using in their day-to-day life. So that's what all the activities are focused on and trying to inspire within our pupils. As I said, it's all focused on STEM curriculum as a whole. So of course we're talking about science, design and technology, engineering, maths, but there's lots of cross-curricular value within all of these as well. And the activities, they're definitely suitable, the activities and the resources, they're suitable to be used at pretty much all ages, from Key Stage 1 up to Key Stage 5 and beyond. They can be used at different levels, and the activities I'm about to show you can definitely be adapted and taken to different levels of complexity to work with pupils or children of any age. So that's a little bit of background on what PITSCO Education are all about, what their approach is, and the sorts of resources that they're usually working with. Of course, at the moment, it can be a little bit difficult to get our hands on all those amazing resources, especially if we are working and learning at home and we're not in the schools that are still open at the moment. So PITSCO have brilliantly put together some really simple activities that we can do by using things that we do have access to at home. So it's still possible to bring hands-on, minds-on learning to wherever we are at the moment. So these are great things which you can use for homeschooling if that's something that you're doing at the moment. You can still use it, of course, at schools if you happen to be in the schools that are still open at the moment. So yeah, they're great for still bringing some hands-on learning into everything that we're doing at home, and of course having some fun and helping to build up some of those skills that we were talking about at the beginning. And you can see here that they basically put together 6 activities which have different problem-solving challenges within them, all of which can be downloaded completely free of charge online. Now, the link to where you can download these is detailed in the notes below the video, so you will be able to see that. Or if you can't access that for any reason, please do get in touch with us and we'll make sure we send that through to you. But I'm going to switch to exactly that now. So the page where you'll find this is this. So you can see you've got the 6 main activities, all of which can just be downloaded at the click of the button. And we've got these 6 different themes based around catapults, parachutes, creating our own pop-up box, a Rube Goldberg machine. Now, I don't know if everyone's familiar with that, but a Rube Goldberg machine basically means making a simple process a little bit more complicated. Okay, so it's about the fun of exploring how we can make a simple process more complicated by utilizing all sorts of different mechanisms and systems. Okay, so they're great ones to explore as well. We've also then got challenges based around sale cars and even simple colouring pages for our younger pupils as well. So we're going to take a closer look at one of these. So I decided to have a go at for myself the parachute activity here. Okay, so I can just click on the download button and it will pop up, and they all follow the same process, all really simple one-page guides on exactly how we can carry out these activities at home. Okay, so it starts off with just the overview of the challenge. In this case, it is simply building a parachute using materials from around the house. So this is basically anything that you can get your hands on to get creative. It does suggest certain materials that you might want to use, for things like tissue paper, paper napkins, plastic bags, basically anything lightweight which you might be able to use that would be suitable for creating that main component of a parachute. We can then use things like string or yarn or threads, anything like that would be suitable. Of course, things to connect it all together, which could be things like paper clips, tape, staples, again, whatever you think is going to be most suitable to solve this challenge. It also gives some suggestions on where you can get additional inspiration. So of course, YouTube is a great source for this kind of thing. If you just put terms into there like how to make a parachute for kids, you'll find all sorts of different examples of what people have done in the past. So they're great for getting some initial inspiration on how we can solve this problem for ourselves. The next stage is then, of course, to plan it out. So we want to make a plan for how we're going to go about solving this particular problem. That can just be something simple like sketching it on a piece of paper with a pencil or pen, and sketching out how you think you're going to use all those materials and components you've got together to create your parachute. And then we go into the really fun parts of actually carrying it out. So you can see it gives you a breakdown of the suggested procedures. So we start at this point going, of course, into building our parachute and putting that design that we've come up with in the plan out stage into action. And it gives you some suggestions of what you can use as the payload. So of course we need something that our parachute is going to be able to help go safely to the ground. So it could be something simple to begin with, like a paper clip or any bit of metal. Depends on what works best for you with what you've got to work with. And of course need to then go into the testing stage. So it's suggesting that you can be testing it out at different specific heights. And we want to time how long it takes our parachute to get our payload to the ground. And it can even go into quite complex things like trying to calculate the velocity. So we can bring some maths and science, additional science, into the challenge by actually calculating the velocity. And that's done by dividing the height of the drop by the time it took our chute to hit the ground. Okay, so we can do all sorts of different tests at different heights, different payloads, and seeing how our parachute performs with all of that. And then we're going into that discussion stage. So it's always important to reflect back on what we've done and think about how we might be able to improve it. I'll come on to that in a bit more detail in a second. So hopefully that's making sense what these activities are providing you with in terms of the guidance and how you can start to use these. And I want to give you a very quick example of how you could go about this specific activity. So I'm going to switch back to the camera view, so hopefully you can see me okay. So I've had a quick go at that parachute activity for myself, and I'm going to show you this now. And my solution was very simple. I'll be completely honest, I only spent maybe 5 to 10 minutes on this. But the materials I've used for my parachute, hopefully you can see this okay, I've actually used here, I don't know if you can quite make that out, that is a cake case, okay? Simple, lightweight cake case, which you would use in baking cakes. I then used some basic thread for the other parts of my parachute, and I've got a simple metal paperclip style item here as my payload. Okay, so that's what I've used to create my parachute. And I'm going to try and show you this in action. With the view I've got, it's maybe not going to be completely clear what I'm doing, but let's just try and show you as best I can. So I've got my parachute ready to deploy, and I'm going to drop it. There we go. I don't know if you quite caught that fully in action on the video, but it did help to cushion the landing of the payloads quite well with that. It definitely did reduce the speed, the velocity that it took to get to the ground. But I think we can definitely improve this. Now, I'm sure you're already thinking about how you can come up with different, better solutions to this. And I'm already thinking about how I might be able to improve my solution. So, well, that worked kind of okay. You can see with my paper cake case here, it's not got the best structural integrity. So I'm already thinking about, right, what can I do to improve this? And I'm thinking what I can maybe put on the inside of the case to improve it. So I might be able to use things like, I'm not sure, matchsticks maybe, within different parts of it to give it that constant structural integrity, or maybe just bits of cardboard. I'm not sure yet. I'll need to try these different things and test it again to see how well that improves the performance of my parachutes. So again, hopefully that's given you a good idea of how the activity works. It's a little bit of inspiration how you can start to go about it. But I'm fairly certain you'll be able to come up with some better solutions to the problem than that. So it'd be great to see what you come up with. And before we sign off, so hopefully that has given you that inspiration on what you can do. I hope you have enjoyed the webinar and found it useful. But I do want to stress that once you do start to use this and you've got any questions at all, please always do feel free to get in touch with us at Creative Hut. You can see our email address on the screen here, which is simply info@creative-hut.com. You can also explore all the other resources that we work with and what we do in a bit more detail on our website. But what we'd love to see is your efforts on this. So if you do want to take any photos or videos or viewing your pupils or children carrying out these activities and you want us to share those, please feel free to do those on our social media channels, which again, you can see on the screen here. So feel free to take a note of those and share those with us. After this session, we're going to be posting lots more videos, demos, tutorials on all sorts of different resources that we work with. So look out for those on our website and our social media as well. And we will hopefully see you online again very soon. But thank you very much for joining. Bye for now.